Good morning. Oh, I knew I'd forget that. Good morning, one and all, and welcome to our worship service at the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. Here we gather, nurturing our connections, seeking inspiration, and embracing change. My name is Rita Rosenberg-Barber, and I am honored to be your celebrant associate today. Thank you so much for joining us, those of you who are here in person and those watching online. It just feels so darn good to be together. Please check our website for more information about how to create connections. If you'd like to receive updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. Newcomers are especially invited to visit our website and complete a newcomer form on the home page. A few announcements. There'll be a gathering in the parlor after the service for a long-awaited conversation, but no coffee, and I hope you can join us. Our service this morning is being live streamed from our sanctuary in beautiful downtown Ithaca, and we will be available for later viewing as well on our YouTube channel. Also in the parlor today, we have copies of a liberal church available, written by Carol Kamen and aided by Beverly West. This book describes the history of the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca from 1865 to 1945. Read about being a liberal congregation in the midst of orthodoxy and how and why FUSIT was planted in Ithaca and how it grew. The books are $15 and can be purchased after the service or from the office whenever it's open. All right. So this morning, I am very pleased to introduce a dear friend and our dear family friend and our neighbor, Rebecca Schillembach. She is a Quaker minister, hospice chaplain, and a certified life cycle celebrant. She holds a Master's of Divinity from Colgate Rochester Kosher Divinity School. She considers officiating weddings and funerals a very great honor. She thinks she might have an idea for a graphic novel and has always been curiously in love with cows. She lives in the Finger Lakes in a big and colorful house with her spouse, their two beloved sons, two quirky black and white cats, and a flock of chickens. Rebecca, welcome. We are so grateful and delighted you could join us today. So now for our chalice lighting, I would like to invite Megan Barber to come join me. I just can't get enough of her, so I want to see her close and up front here. So please join me in saying the chalice lighting words. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action.
Good morning, friends. Thank you for your gracious hospitality. By way of invocation, I offer us now the following poem, Where Hope Comes From, by Nikita Gill. It comes from heartache, and it grows like the lone sapling from the ashes of loss. And it carves its way out of the heavy heart of tragedy and its heavy cost. and it rises like a soldier, thought lost, returning home to his mother. And it smiles like the calm, clear sky following weeks of one storm after another. And maybe this is why, when Pandora opened the box that carried such calamities which afflicted all of humankind, gentle hope emerged from there, too. What else helps us overcome suffering, if not giving hope a chance to bloom? Let us together today give hope a chance to bloom, to flicker and to flare like the flame of this chalice that gathers us all in collective ritual intention, like the lights of the Hanukkah menorahs, which will be lit by those in the Jewish faith this evening, like the notes of the universal song of struggle that we all carry in our hearts, even in the darkest hour.
I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn number 221, Light One Candle. If you have not been with us in person yet, we are inviting you to sing. We would just ask that you keep it at around a piano or mezzo piano through your masks. Light one candle for the Maccabee children, with thanks that their light didn't die. Light one candle for the pain they endured when their right to exist was denied. Light one candle for the terrible sacrifice justice and freedom demand. But light one candle for the wisdom to know when the peacemaker's time is at hand. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Light one candle for the strength that we need to never become our own foe. Light one candle for those in the suffering, the pain that we loved long ago. Light one candle for always believing that anger won't tear us apart. And light one candle to bring us together with peace as the song in our heart. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. What is the memory that's valued so highly? We keep it alive in that flame. What's the commitment to those who have died when we cry out they've not died in vain? Have we come this far always believing that justice would somehow prevail? This is the burden and this is the promise, and this is why we will not fail. Don't let the light go out, it's lasted for so many years. Don't let the light go out, let it shine through our love and our tears. Thank you. Good morning and happy Hanukkah. Let's take a look inside our Wonder Box. I found a balloon. It isn't blown up yet, so I'm going to blow it up right now. Whew. That takes a lot of breath and energy to fill this balloon. Let's see see if I can get it tied off too. Whew. All right. So we can we can think about our history as a balloon. Inside this balloon is air. In this case, air that I blew into it. It's now part of my history. And even though I blew up this balloon all by myself, I am who I am today, and I am here because of everything I've experienced up until this point. Because of so many different events, people, experiences, and communities that have shaped me and made me who I am. And my history doesn't stop at my own experiences. It expands to include my ancestors, the history of the place that I live, this city, state, and country, and even the history of the places and communities that I am part of, like FUSIT and our greater UU community. And that can be a lot to hold on my own. How many of you here have ever tried to keep a balloon up in the air? At first, it seems pretty simple. Balloons, they're light, they're easy to bop around. But as you continue, the balloon might go in unexpected directions, forcing you to chase after it or watch it fall to the floor. I'm going to invite those of you that are here with me to help me as I continue speaking by trying to keep more balloons, which represent our collective history, up in the air. So your job is to try not to let them fall, and I want to reassure everyone that these balloons that I'm about to pass out were not blown up with my mouth, but were blown up with a hand pump at home. I'm gonna keep this one because I blew it up with my mouth. All right, are all the balloons up in the air? I see some of them have fallen already. That's all right. Good work. So this month, we have discussed the many ways that we UUs are holding history. So one of the ways that we do that is by working together, like you are all doing right now. By holding on to one another and supporting each other as we journey along our path as individuals and a community. Holding history means acknowledging that history. It means lifting it up, figuratively or literally, and helping others to do the same. This is also part of our covenant to one another, to be together, to support one another, to be engaged, and to work to serve our shared goals. And as we talked about last week, sometimes that history can be painful, like the history of Indigenous people who were sent to residential schools, where they were forced to leave their own language and culture behind, and the history of the Jewish people who begin their celebration tonight of miracles past and present, but who have experienced persecution and continue to experience it in this country and around the world. These are just two examples of events throughout history that have taken place that have caused great harm. You can keep bopping them around if you want, but you don't have to. You can let them fall at this point. And sometimes that harm that has happened is in our own families or our communities, and we have to hold that too. And sometimes it's happened in places far away, but it is so great, it continues to affect us all. But if we can come together as one to lift up and support each other, to step in when those around us cannot, it makes holding our history a little bit easier. We may still fail sometimes. We might miss what we were reaching for. We might make mistakes. We might step in when somebody else could have more easily taken this burden from us. Or we might assume someone else is going to do the work and watch it come tumbling to the ground. Even when history feels hard to bear, whether it is recent events that feel raw and painful, or events from the past that continue to have repercussions and cause harm to this day, we are all in this together. When we hold that history together, the weight of those events and truths doesn't disappear, but it can feel lighter because we are carrying this burden as one. And as illustrated here today, holding history, holding each other, is easier when there are more of us. If we were able to fill this sanctuary, as we have done in the not-so-distant past, keeping those balloons aloft would have been so much easier than it is for the small, safely distanced group of us here today. And acknowledging that we are bearing so much more on our own today, that we are not sitting shoulder to shoulder because of love and care for each other, not because we don't want to hold these things together, but that we are doing it for one another. So, I hope you can continue to hold one another up as safely as you can, with gratitude, grace, and love, to create change in yourself, in this community, in the world. Because while we are holding up our history, we are also creating our future. And I hope that our actions now, joining together as a community once more and working for a more just world, leads to a future where the past feels easier to hold aloft. You can feel free to keep the balloons.
Good morning. Thank you, Emily. So Joys and Sorrows is another piece of our holding each other. And Joys and Sorrows, as you can see, is now back in the service and not in coffee hour. If you have a joy and sorrow that you would like to have announced, you can send it to joysandsorrows@uuithaca.org. Joys and Sorrows spelled out A-N-D in the middle, before 9 o'clock on Sunday morning. Or if you're attending the service, you can write it out in these little green cards, little green pieces of paper that are in the pews. And just because we're live streamed, and Joys and Sorrows can sometimes be very tender, just make sure that you understand that these are going to be going out to the public when you put together your joy and sorrow. So, in a spirit of reverence, unity, and care, we take time now to give witness to some of the joys and sorrows of our community. We share those events that call for our prayers and support, our praise and celebration. Jean Jordanak's passing has been announced previously in Joys and Sorrows, but I just want to pass on a little more information. She died on November 9, 2021, at the home of her daughter, Melinda, after a brief illness. A memorial reception for Jean will be held on Sunday, December 12th, from 1:30 to 3:30 in the community room of East Point Apartments, 15 East Point Drive, Ithaca, near the airport. Please come for light refreshments and to share your memories of Jean. The exact information will be shared in the weekly announced this week. For all those for whom we have concerns, all those that we are holding in our thoughts and prayers, into this community and space of healing and hope, let us call these names out loud right now. We extend loving kindness to all in our world and let us not forget to extend loving kindness to ourselves. Today, tomorrow, and beyond, let our hands be outstretched in kindness, and let us keep showing up to our lives and each other with an open heart, no matter what. Love and courage to us all. Blessed be, and amen.
In the spirit of meditation and prayer, let us now take a moment to tune our inward attention to the measure of light that is given to each of us to bear and to offer and to shine in the world. So just breathing in and breathing out, I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or just to soften your gaze for the moment. Picture a light like your chalice, a light that reflects and mirrors and flickers like a candle in every living being. Picture that light within you, its small candle flame. Where does it reside in your body? Is there a place that feels like it is the flickering flame of your soul? A place where a small candle burns faithfully, never going out, always glowing. Maybe it's your belly, or the crown of your head, or your solar plexus. If it feels comfortable to you, now you could even place a hand there where you feel that flame. Tenderly hold it there for a moment as you breathe in and breathe out. Or simply just imagine your breath moving into that place. Breathing in and breathing out. Your breath dances with that small flame. It flares it gently, thanking it, sheltering it, honoring it, allowing it to glow. All over the world today, people in the Jewish and the Christian traditions are marking the beginning of seasons that honor the practice and the discipline of hope by lighting candles. Candles that will shine on menorahs to observe the first day of this festival of lights. Candles that will shine on Advent wreaths to observe the first Sunday of Advent, a whole month of meditations upon hope. Today's Advent candle is in fact the candle of hope, which is a fitting symbol for us. Breathing in and breathing out, may we feel a candle of hope within us. May we know that it reflects the flame that flickers in every living being. In the spirit of shared hope across all of these traditions, in the spirit of prayer and meditation, I offer you now these passages from both the First and Second Testaments. From the book of the prophet Isaiah. The people who walk in darkness have seen a great light. Those who live in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. And from the Gospel according to John. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it.
This is our last week to sing this song together. I'm hoping many of you have learned it by now. We have a couple harmonies that Emily will be demonstrating, and you may join in wherever you feel comfortable.
I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now. I am finding my way. I am finding my way. I am finding my way back to now.
Thank you. Thank you. That was just lovely. And thank all of you. I could hear you. Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its presence in Ithaca. The giving information is shown in your order of service. For those watching remotely, the information will appear on your screen during the offertory music and in the information below the live stream image on YouTube. Giving to the plate is important. It's a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to support the work of this church. So please take a moment and give through either the text option or the giving button on the home page of the website. And if you are attending in person, you can place an offering in this beautiful box here after the service. Thank you. So please join me in saying the offertory words that are printed in your order of service. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
I have two readings for us this morning. The first is an excerpt from an interview with Dr. Brene Brown, who's a clinical social worker, researcher, academic, and author, and has spent decades studying the topics of courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. In an interview conversation with Krista Tippett, she said, "Wholehearted people share in common a profound sense of hopefulness. The literature on hope shows that hope is a function of struggle, and that hope is not an emotion. Hope is a cognitive behavioral process that we learn when we experience adversity, when we have relationships that are trustworthy, when people have faith in our ability to get out of a jam. The most beautiful things I look back on in my life are coming out from underneath things I didn't know I could get out from underneath. The moments I look back in my life and think, God, those are the moments that made me, were moments of struggle. Hope is brokenhearted on the way to becoming wholehearted. Hope is a function of struggle." And from the Second Testament, Paul's letter to the Romans, "In the presence of the God in whom he believed, the God who gives life to the dead and calls into existence the things that do not yet exist, Abraham hoped against hope." Not too long ago, my 10-year-old son, Casimir, was making a comic book about a superhero he had invented, and I was wrestling with the problem of hope. Casimir was making up dangers for his superhero to face, and I was thinking about how dangerous hope is. Dangerous because hope can be dashed, hope can be crushed. Dangerous because hope can be called naive, which, in the judgments of the cynical and the skeptical, the learned and the schooled, is right there next to stupid. Dangerous because hope can make you want and yearn and need. Dangerous because even when you have nothing at all, hope can make you have something to lose. So I was thinking about the vulnerability of the hopeful, their vulnerability to disappointment, to loss, to grief. But I was also thinking about how that very danger, that very vulnerability, that very willingness to incur the risk of loss, that risk itself is powerful and courageous. It's a power and a force, hope is. Empires, emperors, their conscripted armies, they know this about hope. Those who wield power in the domination systems of our day recognize this about hope. Aspiring autocrats and their idolaters and enablers, they all prefer hopeless people. Their power runs on the hopelessness of the people they would rule. Hopeless, despairing people are easier to rule over. It's easier by far to sell such people false hopes on the cheap. So there's this great paradox in hope. It's both dangerous to the hopeful, but on the other hand, it's dangerous to the powerful. So I was thinking, as my son fabricated superheroes, that hope, it's a potential superpower, especially of the vulnerable. Hope harnessed has toppled governments and built them. Hope that has been daunted and yet arises, aggregated in community, collected, distilled, risked, even so, battered but stronger for the challenges it has overcome. That kind of hope burns like an eternal flame that shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. So when my 10-year-old said offhandedly, leaning over his comic book with his crayon, "Mommy, when you look for something good to happen, when something bad is happening, that's hope." Well, he gave me the best working definition of hope that I have. And so I offer it here to you today. When you look for something good to happen, when something bad is happening, that's hope. Like Brene Brown said, it's not an emotion. It's a cognitive orientation, a spiritual orientation. As a hospice chaplain, I'm with people at the absolute edge of hope. I'm with people where hope ends, or where it begins, or both. I'm there where hope stops making any sense and is one of the only things remaining that makes sense. I'm there where people give up hope and cling to it, carry it like that one precious candle, trembling and flickering, a lantern in the dark. I'm there where the future is certain. We know what's going to happen, but at the same time, nothing is guaranteed. And I can tell you, friends, that I have been blessed to see people die wholehearted, hopeful, even though all hope has been lost. I have seen people die with hope intact, even though all specific hopes, all emotional hopes, for a cure, for remission, for one more miracle treatment, all those are gone. Yet there is still hope. And it is not stupid. It is not naive. It is absolute. A candle that burns. People who are hopeful, who are filled with hope, despite giving up and letting go of specific hopes, these people have tapped into an orientation of the soul, of the spirit, of the self, that is much deeper than wishful thinking. It is a response that life itself has the capacity to have in the face of adversity. It is a faith, a power, a force, a presence that lives even in the dying. It might be even where it comes from. It gives life to the dead. It shines in the dark. It grows the stronger for its contact with the struggle. It's what Abraham exalted as the God in whom he believed. That which calls into existence the things that do not yet exist. It is, for me as a Quaker, what I call that of God in everyone, or the light of Christ within. But you can call it whatever you want. An impulse to become wholehearted, maybe. A light that shines through love and tears. A deep song that hums in everything, despite everything. Whatever vocabulary works for you. I have seen it. I have seen it enough that I, like Abraham, believe in it. And I find in it a reason to be very hopeful. Even when, especially when, something bad is happening. When bad things are happening, and you can no longer discern the thing you hope for ahead of you. It's as if you have to call it into existence. When the way is hard, and all the hopes you can think to offer up like candles are blown out one by one. When it is so difficult to see the good and the bad. In that place, where hopes are given up and hearts are broken, that desolate place, that's where true hope is born. That's where it's forged, as in a fire. Hope is not an emotion. Hope is a function of the struggle, a cognitive behavioral process, a spiritual orientation that we learn when we experience adversity. Hope is brokenhearted on the way to becoming wholehearted. And that's all of us. We gather today on the cusp of the last month of another difficult year. Just before the year began, in the last moments of 2020, as my little 3-household pandemic pod gathered to ring in 2021, we asked each other what we were hoping for in the new year. And one of us answered into the pensive lull that query brought. There's just so much to hope for in 2021. There was so much to hope for in 2021. And there still is, always is, so much to hope for. And there has also been so much bad in which to look for the good. There has been so much struggle with which to exercise the muscles of our hope. But hope that is not to be false or flimsy or sold to us on the cheap by would-be tyrants must, by definition, be responsive to the full force of what it is up against. That's the vulnerability of the risk. And as Brene Brown's research has shown, without it, there's no possibility of growing resilient or wholehearted. Because without it, there's no need for either. So let us have hope. I have hope. I have hope that people can heal ourselves from the diseased story of separation that infects every aspect and expression of life on earth in our time. For example, that's hope against hope. I have hope that we can, before it is too late, learn to live in harmony with the living world and with each other, and create beauty and peace rather than ugliness and violence. I hope against hope. I have hope that we can rise to the occasion and face the struggle, the adversity. I have hope that we will realize that we have within us the capacity and the power to hope against hope, like Abraham and all the prophets of old. So let us curse not the struggle that gives rise to the hope that is equal to it. Let us curse not the darkness into which our small lights shine. Let us curse not even what we might call bad, and look for the good, even there. Because even there is exactly where hope comes from.
Thank you for those words, Rebecca. I invite you to rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song.
How can we keep from singing? How can we keep from lighting the one candle that is given to us to light? How can we keep from hoping? Let us sing, let us shine, let us struggle, and let us hope. Amen.
As we extinguish the chalice, we gather the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action into our hearts and carry it forward into the dawning day. Go in peace, and thank you all.